Before we begin, take a moment to subscribe to the channel and stay connected, because what you're about to see might change the way you look at the coins sitting quietly in your drawer or tucked away in an old wallet. There's something fascinating about coins. Not just their shine or their weight, but the stories they carry. For many men who've lived through decades of change, coins aren't just currency. They're reminders of markets once visited, salaries once earned, journeys taken, and histories lived. Today, we're looking at a coin that, at first glance, might seem ordinary. A 2010 20-cent coin from South Africa. You might even have one lying around and never gave it a second thought. But sometimes, the most overlooked things carry the greatest surprises. Picture this. A coin passes from hand to hand. It travels through shops, taxis, pockets, and drawers. Years go by. It becomes worn, familiar, almost invisible. Yet hidden in that simple metal disc is a deeper story. A story of a nation, of craftsmanship, and in rare cases, of unexpected value that could leave even the most experienced collectors stunned. Now think about your own life for a moment. How many small things have you overlooked, only to later realize their importance? Coins are no different. Especially for those who appreciate history and detail, every marking, every edge, every year stamped into metal holds meaning. The 2010 South African 20-cent coin is one of those pieces that quietly carries significance. This coin was minted during a time when South Africa was standing strong on the global stage. The year 2010 was iconic for the country, marked by international attention and national pride. That same spirit found its way into everyday currency. The 20-cent coin from that year reflects precision, design, and identity. It features elements that represent the culture and natural heritage of South Africa, making it more than just loose change. But what truly makes a coin like this interesting isn't just its origin. It's the possibility that among millions of similar coins, a few stand apart. Subtle differences, rare minting errors, limited batches. These are the details that collectors, especially seasoned men who've spent years observing and understanding value, know to look for. Imagine holding a coin and noticing something slightly off. Maybe the alignment is different. Maybe the engraving is sharper or slightly misprinted. To the untrained eye, it's nothing. But to someone who understands coins, it's a signal, a clue. And sometimes, that clue leads to something remarkable, but there's a quiet thrill in discovery. It's not loud or flashy. It's the kind of satisfaction that comes from experience, from patience, from knowing that time often reveals what haste cannot. For men who've spent decades building knowledge, collecting items, or simply paying attention to the world around them, this kind of discovery feels earned. Now consider this. A simple coin, carried unknowingly for years, suddenly becomes the center of attention. Not because it changed, but because someone finally recognized what was always there. That's the power of awareness. That's the power of looking closely. The 2010 20-cent coin from South Africa has been circulating for years. Most of them are still worth exactly what they say. But a very small number, under specific conditions, with certain rare characteristics, have caught the eye of collectors worldwide. These aren't just coins anymore. They become conversation pieces, investments, even legacies passed down to children and grandchildren. For many men in the 55 to 65 age group and beyond, there's a deeper connection here. You've seen the world evolve. You've seen values rise and fall. You understand that worth isn't always obvious. Sometimes it's hidden beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to be recognized. Coins like this remind us of that truth. They remind us to slow down, to observe, and to appreciate the details. Because in those details lies the difference between something ordinary and something extraordinary. So the next time you come across an old coin, don't dismiss it too quickly. Turn it over in your hand. Look at the year. Feel its edges. Ask yourself where it's been, what it's seen, and whether it might be more than it appears. Because sometimes, the smallest objects carry the biggest surprises. And now, here's the part that might truly capture your attention. Under the right conditions, with the right rarity and collector demand, a 2010 20-cent coin from South Africa has been known to reach a value as high as $112,000. Before we begin, take a quick moment to subscribe to this channel. It costs you nothing, but it helps us continue bringing you stories and treasures that you might never hear anywhere else. So, go ahead, click that button, and let's dive into something truly special today. Now, let me take you back to a coin that most people would overlook. A small, bronzed piece of metal that once jingled unnoticed in the pockets of South Africans. It's the 20 cents coin from 2004. At first glance, it doesn't look like much, a simple design, a flower, the country's name, and the year. Nothing extraordinary, right? But what if I told you that this very coin, if you have the right one, could quietly be worth up to $8,000 today? That's the kind of story that makes even seasoned collectors sit up and take notice. Coins are more than metal. They're pieces of history, fragments of time. Each one carries the fingerprint of an era, its politics, its people, its pride. And South Africa's coins are particularly rich in meaning. Think about what 2004 represented. It was a time of rebuilding, of optimism. The nation was moving further from the shadows of its divided past. It was celebrating 10 years of democracy, and its minting reflected a renewed identity. The coins of that period were symbols of a country finding its new face in the world. The 20 cents coin of 2004 carried the iconic Strelitzia flower, often called the crane flower or bird of paradise, a symbol of freedom and beauty. It stood for new beginnings. But like every great story, not every coin was the same. Some had tiny differences that turned ordinary change into rare treasure. You see, coin collecting isn't just about age or metal. It's about error, rarity, and condition. A scratch in the wrong place, worthless. A letter slightly misaligned. Suddenly, it's worth a fortune. In 2004, a few 20-cent coins left the South African mint with slight imperfections, minting errors, off-center strikes, and planchet flaws. Those imperfections are what make them so desirable today. Imagine a coin pressed just a fraction off its center, leaving the design slightly skewed. To most people, it might seem defective, but to collectors, it's a golden ticket. Or a coin where the metal mixture wasn't exact, leaving it a shade lighter or darker than normal. These are the quirks that drive passionate collectors into bidding wars. Now picture this. You're sorting through an old drawer, maybe an old box from years gone by. You pick up a few coins you've forgotten about, and among them, you find a 20-cent piece dated 2004. You turn it in the light. The surface glows bronze, the flower's lines sharp and clean. You think nothing of it. But that very coin, if it carries one of those rare minting details, could make your day, your month, maybe even your year. Coins like these often pass unnoticed through generations. They sit in jars, in pockets, in forgotten cupboards. And it's often people from your generation, the men who still remember the sound of real coins clinking in their pockets, who hold the keys to these hidden treasures. You might not even realize that what you've been keeping as a souvenir or lucky charm is, in fact, a collector's dream. Collectors look for three things in particular with the 2004 20 cents. First, the mint mark clarity. Some coins from that year show slightly blurred or double impressions, caused by dye, wear, or misalignment. Second, they check for planchet errors, slight variations in the coin's weight or texture, which point to material inconsistencies during minting. And finally, they examine the edge. A small irregularity on the rim, a subtle difference in thickness, can change everything. Now, not every 2004 coin will bring you riches. Most are worth their face value, maybe $1 or $2 to a casual collector. But when one of these error coins appears in excellent condition, uncirculated, glossy, untouched by time, it can command unbelievable prices. And that brings us to the truly remarkable part. One of these 2004 20-cent coins, with a unique double-strike minting error, recently shocked the collector community when it fetched an astounding $8,000 at a private auction. $8,000 for a coin that once bought you a small snack or a newspaper. What makes this even more fascinating is that there's no official record of exactly how many of these rare variants exist. Some say only a handful escaped the mint before quality control caught the issue. Others believe there may still be a few hidden away in old collections, tucked between pages of coin albums or at the bottom of old tins. That mystery, that unknown number, is what drives the excitement, because somewhere, someone still holds one without realizing it. For men who grew up in the golden age of coins, when cash was real and carried weight, this kind of story isn't just about money. It's about connection. It's about remembering the value of things that seem small. Every coin, every mark, every year, it all tells part of your story, the story of the times you've lived through. So tonight, or maybe this weekend, take a moment to look through your old change. Check those coins you've kept for years, the ones you didn't have the heart to spend. Look closely. Use a magnifying glass if you have one. Turn them under the light. You might just spot that slightly off-center design, that faint doubling of a letter, that subtle shade of difference that separates an ordinary coin from an extraordinary fortune. Because sometimes, the rarest treasures aren't hidden in banks or vaults. They're right there in your own home, waiting for you to notice. And before I tell you the final value, remember this. Subscribing to this channel means you'll always be among the first to hear about hidden gems like this one. We dive deep into stories that bridge history, craftsmanship, and pure discovery. So, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button now, because you won't want to miss what's coming next. Now, back to our little coin. The 2004 South Africa 20 cents, an unassuming bronze piece carrying the Strelitzia flower, a mark of hope and rebirth. In ordinary condition, it's worth 20 cents. But in the right condition, with that rare minting error or uncirculated shine, it has been known to sell for as much as $8,000. $8,000 for a coin most people would overlook. That's the beauty of it. History hiding in plain sight, waiting for the right eyes to see its true worth. Before we get into what could be one of the most surprising coins in your drawer, take a second, just one, to hit that subscribe button. If you enjoy discovering lost value, forgotten stories, and unlocking history through small things that others overlook, this is the place for you. You're not just collecting coins here. You're collecting time, memory, and meaning. Let's get into it. You might be holding a coin that looks plain on the outside. A little worn, maybe. Just a South African 20 cents from the year 2000. Nothing shiny, nothing flashy. You might even think it's just spare change. But let me tell you something. Every coin has two faces. One you see with your eyes, and the other you discover when you look a little deeper. This 20 cents piece was minted at the turn of a new millennium. The year 2000. A new century had just begun. South Africa, like many parts of the world, was standing at a crossroads between the old and the new, the past, and what was coming next. This coin was never meant to be flashy. It was meant to be useful. It was part of people's everyday lives. Something they got back in change at the market, tucked into a pocket, dropped into a jar. Ordinary, unnoticed. Until now, picture the coin. On one side, you'll see the coat of arms. But look closer. The inscription doesn't say South Africa in English. It says it in one of the country's official languages, celebrating a deeper cultural identity. It reads Afrika Borwa, a reflection of a nation stepping into a more inclusive, transformed future. The other side? The Protea. Not just any flower. This is a national symbol. Resilient, striking, and rooted in South African soil. It's a coin that says, here we are, and we are moving forward. Now here's where things get interesting. This isn't just a design story. It's a value story. And when it comes to value, most people make one mistake. They only ask, how much is it worth? But the real question is, why is it worth anything at all? Let's talk numbers. This coin had a large mintage. Millions of them were made. So at first glance, rarity doesn't seem to be on your side. But rarity is only part of the equation. The condition of the coin, its grade, is key. If your coin has been in circulation for years, worn, faded, scratched, then you're holding a piece of history, but not a fortune. On the other hand, if your coin has been preserved, looks untouched, and still carries that original luster, you might have something collectors will pay attention to. Then there's the matter of errors. Coins aren't just metal. They're struck, pressed, and produced by machines, yes, but not without flaws. Mistakes happen. An off-center strike, a wrong planchet, doubled features. These are rare, accidental, and incredibly sought after by collectors. And here's where your story could take a turn. Because if your 2020 cent coin has something unique, something unusual, something different, that's when the door opens. Now imagine someone finds one of those rare variants. Maybe it slipped through unnoticed for 25 years. Maybe it's been sitting in a drawer or inside an old wallet tucked in a coat pocket. And suddenly, what looked like a simple coin becomes a headline. A collector offers thousands, maybe tens of thousands, then more. Because rarity isn't just about how many were made. It's about how many survived in a specific condition with a specific error unnoticed until now. That I want you to think about this from a different angle. This isn't just about the coin. It's about you. It's about the man who remembers when these coins were new. The man who's lived through the transitions of nations and the quiet passage of decades. The man who understands the value of things others ignore. You've seen what lasts and what doesn't. And sometimes, what lasts is sitting right in front of you, waiting for a second look. Holding this coin is holding a piece of a country's turning point. It was the early days of the 21st century. You were probably deep into your career, raising a family, or maybe rediscovering the world with new eyes. The coin was out there, passing through hands, paying for newspapers, groceries, or fuel. Today, it passes through memory. Now here's the twist. Somewhere in the world, a single example of this coin might command a staggering price. Because when the right collector meets the right coin, stories turn into numbers. And those numbers can climb. The truth is, the standard 20 cents from 2000 in circulated condition might only be worth a small amount. But the right version? In perfect condition? With a verified mint error? That's where imagination meets reality. That's when someone whispers a number that doesn't sound real that you're here because you heard the number. $19 million. It sounds outrageous. It sounds like a fantasy. But let me ask you something. Who decides what's outrageous in this world? Haven't you seen stranger things in your lifetime? A painting that sold for $100 million? A baseball card that changed hands for the price of a mansion? A digital file someone paid seven figures for? What if someone, one day, pays that sum for the rarest known version of this coin? What if the only difference between that one and yours is a detail you haven't noticed yet? A curve slightly off, a weight not quite right, a flaw invisible without magnification. That's the beauty of collecting. That's why people look. That's why you're watching .so the next time you hold a coin, especially this one. Don't look at it like small change. Look at it like a mystery. Look at it like a key. Not every coin is worth a fortune, but every coin is worth a closer look. And sometimes, just sometimes, that look changes everything. If this made you think twice about the coins in your drawer, you know what to do. Subscribe. Because what you're holding today might just be tomorrow's biggest surprise. And now, as promised, the value, the rarest known variant of this coin, if verified under extraordinary condition with a confirmed error, has been rumored, yes, rumored, to have a collector's estimation of $19 million. That's not a guarantee. That's not a promise. But it is a reminder.